Chapter 16 of Yuddhanantara Parva, the tragedy at Prabhasa. Several years passed. It was the 36th year of the rule of Yudhishthira. 36 years had gone by after the great war. Yudhishthira saw in the heavens the same evil omens that were seen to occur just before the great war. These portents spoke of some great calamity that was waiting to befall them. Yudhishthira did not know what was to happen. He felt that some great destruction was imminent. He could not guess what it was to be. He could only guess that something terrible was to happen very soon. Krishna saw these omens too. He sensed the destruction of the Vrishni house. The curse of Gandhari had to be fulfilled. This curse was preceded by another curse. Once, when the rishis Vishwamitra, Kandva and Narada had come to Dwaraka, the young men of the family of Vasudeva tried to play a practical joke on the holy men who had come. They dressed Sambha as a woman and took him to the rishis. The youngsters asked the rishis, "This woman is expecting a child. You are said to have foresight. Can you look into the future and tell us whether she will get a son or a daughter?" The rishis, strangely lacking in that virtue called sense of humor, were very angry because of the joke. They said, "This woman, as you call him, will give birth to an iron rod. That rod will be the cause of destruction of the entire house of the Vrishnis." The young men were horrified at what they had done. They tried their best to pacify the rishis, but they could not. It was a dreadful future that had been predicted. Samba did give birth to an iron rod. The boys went to Krishna and Balarama and told him the whole story. Balarama was very upset. He ordered the rod to be crushed to powder. The powder was thrown into the sea. They thought that they had managed to outwit fate. Everyone had forgotten the incident. Everyone except Krishna. 36 years after the Great War, Krishna saw the dreadful portents written in the skies. He knew that it meant the destruction of the entire family. Krishna was unmoved. He was tired of life. He wanted to leave the world. This was the last thing he had to see before he left the world where he had been born, to cleanse it of its sins. The fourth quarter of time, Kali, had already set foot. Krishna could see that men were beginning to lose their sense of dharma. He would have to be born again when Kali was about to end. But before that, he had a chance to go back to where he came from. He had to say so that the curse of Gandhari could be fulfilled. He looked on his own people. They had lost their righteousness. They were heading for the final quarrel which was to destroy them all. One day, as was their usual custom, the entire family set out to the place called Prabhasa Tirtha for the worship of Shankara. For the benefit of all of us, Prabhasa Tirtha is very close to Somnath in Gujarat. It was a very happy group of people. Krishna remembered the time they went to Prabhasa several years back. It was when Arjuna was in the garden of Subhadra. Krishna had arranged for their elopement, and he had brought away his brother and the others to Prabhasa so that it might be easy for the young lovers to run away unheeded. What a distance of time had been covered since then. This was to be their final trip to Prabhasa. They would never go there any more. Krishna was now impatient for the end to come. He had become disgusted and disillusioned. He wanted to get away from it all. The caravan of chariots and other vehicles proceeded towards the pleasure spot Prabhasa. They reached Prabhasa. Tents were pitched and all were installed in their individual tents for the night. The next day was spent in games of all kinds. There was great feasting and it went on for a number of days. One day, after this feasting and drinking, they were all talking about old events. Kritavarma was there. Satyaki was drunk, and so were the others. Suddenly, Satyaki took it into his head to insult Kritavarma. Ever since he joined the side of Duryodhana in the great war, Satyaki bore him a grudge. He had never forgiven him for that. He decided to taunt him. It was the drink which made him do it. It was also, of course, fate. Satyaki brought the conversation round to the war and said, I am met to see a Kshatriya who can kill people who are sleeping, who can set fire to the camp of enemy like a common thief and run away to his country, afraid to face the consequences of his act. These words made Kritavarma wild with fury. He was also drunk. He brought up the subject of killing of Bhurishravas and people began to take sides and fight. It was a drunken brawl. The great house of the Vrishnis had descended to this. Krishna was watching all the while. He saw his son Pradyumna take the side of Satyaki. Satyaki sprang at Kritavarma and said, Today I will avenge the death of the best man that fought in the great war, Drishtadyumna. Satyaki cut off the head of Kritavarma. The brawl became a fight. Those who had no weapons took up the weeds that were growing along the seashore and fought with each other. The weeds had all sprung up from the powdered rod of iron which was destined to be the destruction of the house of the Vrishnis. Krishna saw Satyaki killed and he saw his son Pradyumna killed. He knew that he had nothing more to live for. There was nothing more left. Krishna took up handfuls of the weed himself and threw it all at those who were fighting. Each weed became a terrible weapon. The weeds were scattered everywhere. The whole crowd was destroyed in a matter of few moments. It was destroyed by Krishna. His face had assumed a dreadful aspect. He was death. All were dead except Balarama, Krishna and Dharuka. Balarama was not to be found there. Dharuka and Krishna went in search of him. They found him near the shore of the sea, leaning against a tree. Disgusted with the drunken brawl, Balarama had already left the place and reached the seashore. He had decided to give up his life. He was sitting in the yoga trance. Krishna saw him and said, Dharuka, go at once to Hastinapura. Tell my dear Arjuna about the happenings at Prabhasa. Tell Yudhishthira everything. Tell him about the moral degradation of the Vrishni house. Tell them that the heroes had become so deteriorated that a drunken brawl was enough to destroy them. Tell him about the curse of the rishis and of Gandhari. Bring Arjuna as early as you can to Dwaraka and ask him to take care of the women and children. Ask him to come soon. It was with a heavy heart that Dharuka bade farewell to Krishna and set out towards Hastinapura. Krishna hurried to his brother and said, Brother, wait for me. I will go back to Dwaraka and leave the women and children with our father. I will come back and we can go together. Krishna went back to Dwaraka. He went to his father Vasudeva and said, I have sent for Arjuna. He will come and take charge of everything. He will come soon. I have to go back. Balarama is waiting for me. I have to go to him. I cannot look on this Dwaraka without my people. Balarama and I are bent on tapas. Krishna fell at the feet of his father. He would not look back. He walked away as fast as he could. He reached the spot where his dear brother was waiting for him. Balarama saw him and went into trance. Krishna stood by and waited and watched. He saw an immense white serpent coming out of the mouth of Balarama. It came out and disappeared into the ocean. It is said that Krishna is the incarnation of Vishnu and that Balarama is the incarnation of Sesha, the serpent which is the bed of Vishnu. Krishna saw Shesha issuing out of the mouth of Balarama. He knew that his time had come too. Shri Krishna Arpanamasthu. Chapter 17 of Yuddhanantara Parva, the death of Krishna. It was evening. Krishna wandered about, lost in thought. He had reached the end of his life. He had achieved all that he came to achieve. His mind went back to the days at Gokula. He thought of Yashoda, his foster mother. His thoughts hovered about Radha as a bee would round a flower laden with honey. Krishna brushed the memory away. His mind now went to Mathura, where he had killed the tyrant Kamsa. The years rolled on like the waves of the sea, which he was seeing with unseeing eyes. His thoughts rested on the Pandavas. He thought of his first meeting with the Pandavas. Then came the many incidents in their pain filled lives. Then the war, the destruction of the Kshatriyas of the world. Then came the death of Duryodhana and the curse of Gandhari. Krishna had to live to see it fulfilled. He thought of the dead child of Abhimanyu and his giving life to it. He smiled. Yes, it was a great effort to do it, but he had done it. To the last, he had guarded the Pandavas. He had only one regret. He could not meet Arjuna. Suddenly his face was lit up by a sweet smile. He could melt into his dream and speak to him. Krishna sat down in a trance. With great effort of the will, he touched the mind of Arjuna with his own. He felt that Arjuna's mind had been drawn by the power of his mind. He was glad about it. Arjuna was sitting alone in his apartments. He was suddenly reminded of Krishna. He felt that Krishna spoke to him and said, Arjuna, lie down, Arjuna. I want to talk to you. Arjuna did as he was bid. At once he fell into a deep sleep. Krishna melted into his dream as he had done years ago on the night of Abhimanyu's death. Krishna took his hands in his and said, Arjuna, do you remember my telling you once that everything in this world is born to serve a purpose? The next moment after having done so, it will have to die? Arjuna said, Yes, Krishna. You said it when my chariot was burnt after the war. You also said. Krishna intervened and said, Yes, I said that it is even so with men. Each man is set on this strange, eventful journey called life. He has been sent into this world with a purpose. Once that purpose is served, the earth has no more need of him. It is the case with all of us, even me. I have created myself on this earth for a purpose. It is not yet over. Something still remains. The moment it is over, I will die too, and so will you and your brothers. Arjuna, do you remember all that? Arjuna said, Yes, my lord, I do remember it. Krishna said, Arjuna, I wanted to tell you that the purpose of my life has been fulfilled. I am going. You must come too. We can never be away from each other. Arjuna said, Krishna, my lord, what is this you are saying? I cannot grasp what you are saying. Krishna laughed gently and said, My dearest friend, I wanted to see you just once before going away. I have seen you. I have no regrets. As for the meaning of my words, you will understand tomorrow. The dewy smile was illuminating the face of Krishna. He was smiling just that smile when he faded away from the dream of Arjuna. Krishna now walked with slow and hesitant steps. He was a god. He could die as his brother did. He could just give up his breath by yoga. But this incarnation of his was that of a man. He had told Arjuna once that he would act in accordance with the role he was playing. He had to die like a man and not like a saint. There had to be something to cause his death. Pondering on this, Krishna lay down on the ground and went into a deep sleep. There was a hunter in the neighborhood. He was passing by with a bow and arrow. He looked at the sleeping form of Krishna. From a distance, Krishna looked like some animal sleeping. Actually, the hunter thought that it was a deer because of the yellow silk which Krishna was wearing. The hunter took careful aim and sent the arrow. It entered the body of Krishna through the sole of his foot. The great Durvasa had granted Krishna a boon. He had granted him invulnerability all over the body except the soles of his feet. The arrow of the hunter entered the body of Krishna through the one vulnerable part of his body. Once this hunter was passing along the shore of the sea. His foot tripped against something. He stooped and saw that it was a piece of iron. He took it in his hand and saw that it would make a beautiful arrowhead. He fixed it on his arrow. The piece of iron was a portion of the iron which had been powdered and thrown into the sea, and it was this arrow which had entered the foot of Krishna. Krishna suffered intense pain and called out in agony. The hunter hurried to his side. Instead of a deer, he found a man dressed in beautiful yellow silk. He was horrified at what he had done, but Krishna smiled at him and said, "My dear man, you have done me a great favor. You have solved for me my final problem, how to die. Go in peace, my friend. You will reach the heavens for this your act." The hunter tried his best to nurse the dying man, but it was all of no avail. The great Krishna was dead. His soul ascended to the heavens, making the earth glow with its progress. Krishna had left this world. He had served the purpose for which he came, and the earth no longer had any need for him. He went back to where he came from. The world was without Krishna. The world was without Krishna. It was like a body from which life had flown away. The earth was a flower which had lost its perfume. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.